Hello, who are you? Can you hear me? Hello, how are you? Welcome. Okay, so now I can see you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Hello, how are you? I want to welcome you to the course English for Business. This is for intermediate level. So, this is session 10. It is choosing the best mode of transport. This is part of Unit 4, decision making, and your teacher Liliana Kipusco. So, we're going to start with the course considerations. First of all, you must speak English during the entire conference. Second, you can obviously ask questions during the course of the conference. And after I finish each slide, I will answer if you have any questions, so I don't interrupt in the middle of an explanation. Third, I would appreciate you sharing any kind of anecdotes, maybe any kind of problems that maybe you have with your work or at your company, and any kind of other experiences that you have that are related to the subject that we're going to see today, so I can help you. But if you have any kind of other kind of problems or questions, you can write them in here, or you can send an email to info@comexperu.org.pe, so we can maybe put that as part of the curricula and as an extra information for another class. And finally, at the end of each session, we'll have an exam that you will be able to find it on your virtual classroom. That is an exam of multiple choice questions with four alternatives. Okay, so um, in basic level, what we are doing is I explain in English and then I give a little abstract in Spanish so you can know if you are understanding what I said in English. But since this is intermediate, I will not speak Spanish at all. It will be all in English, but I will do my best to try to keep it simple and try to speak a little slower. Okay, so perfect. We're going to start. Most modes of transport. Have you ever heard about it? You know what is a mode of transport? Do you? I want you to think um, for like 10 seconds about it and to create or piece together a definition for a mode of transport or for just transport. Okay, so now that you have your definition, yeah, that you pieced together, that you just made out, we're going to see what the dictionary says about transport. So, according to Cambridge Dictionary, transport is the movement of people or goods from one place to another. So, we're moving people or products from one country, let's say China, to other country that could be Peru. On the other hand, Oxford Dictionary says that transport is to take or carry people or goods from one place to another by the means of vehicle, aircraft, or ship. So it is the same as Cambridge Dictionary's meaning, right? So move people or products from one country to another, from one place to another. But in here they specify that it is three kinds of means, three types of means. So it could be a vehicle, a car, an aircraft, an airplane, or ship. So those are the three means of transport, the three modes of transport. So in this case, modes of transport would be the means or how the vehicles that we are going to use to transport or to move. In this case, could be people or goods, but since we are talking importing from other countries, and in this case we are talking about products, it would be just the means that we are going to use or we are going to hire. In this case, that means the vehicles that we're going to use and hire to move our products. Let's say that we are buying sneakers, so to move these sneakers from China to Peru, for example. So by this, we know now that we have modes of transport. Like I said, there are three. There is sea, that you can see in here, a ship. The other one is air, that you can see in here, an airplane. That is the most common one. And road, that you can see in here, a vehicle. Okay, so each one of these has some characteristics. Some are unique characteristics. So we're going to see one by one. So first, for sea transportation, in this case, we're talking about international transportation. So there's document transportation, transport documents that we will need in order to make our import processes with the customs, Peruvian customs. In this case, the transport document for sea transportation is the bill of lading. So this is the name, bill of lading, also known as B-L, right here, B-L. Um, When we're using a ship, it is because our products are large and medium size. So if we are talking about buying, let's say 10 units of cell phones, it is not necessary to use a, a mode of transportation to use a ship because it is not for that. Maybe if we're talking about buying, let's say 10,000 cell phones. There are going to be a couple of boxes. Um, for that, we will need to use a ship as a way of transport, or maybe we're talking about that we're going to buy beds or furniture. That would be necessary to use a ship. So it is for less and medium-sized loads. On the other hand, if we are talking about importing products that could be dangerous, that could be that could produce a hazard, there are hazards. In this case, the best way of transport it would be to use a ship because sea transportation has less restrictions for dangerous goods. So it is more likely that we'll use a sea transportation. Also, it is less expensive. So it is from the three of them, it is most likely to be the cheap one. But it will be cheap if we are buying a lot of products. If we are buying just let's say a couple of cell phones, it would be no it wouldn't be cheap because sea transportations, the companies that manage the ships, in this case the agencies, they tend to have standard rates. So it would be like $100 or $200 for customer service and another $200 for another kind of documents. So those kind of standard rates will make much expensive our cost as if we are using maybe an air transportation. So we have to keep in mind that. Also, sea transportation is very good for non-perishable cargo. For example, if we are transporting furniture, it will be okay. But if we are transporting, let's say, fruits or maybe roses, it would be not the best one because it could get rot, could get bad on the transportation with time. Then we have to keep in mind that sea transportation means longer travel time. So we're talking about that if we're getting products from here to the United States, maybe it could be about 15 days. If we're talking about getting products from here to China, it could be 30 days, 40 days. So it means longer travel time. So it means that we have to plan ahead. On the other hand, air transportation means they have also a transport document that is called airway bill, and we can find it by AWD. Air transportation, it means that we are talking about small size loads. So we could be talking about just one box of cell phones, or maybe one box, or let's say one or two box of, I mean, not one of two pairs, but one or two boxes that could contain a couple of pairs of shoes, relatively small size products. Also, we have to know that not only is for small size products, it's also for products that have a high value. For example, if we're talking about jewelry, if we're talking about perishables, if we're talking about buying food, fruits, or maybe perishable food, or maybe if we're talking about medicine, or if we're talking about flowers, that is okay to use air transportation too. Also about live animals. If we are transporting live animals, it is we have to do it by air means. And finally, emergency cargo. If we need it, it is an emergency. Uh, it has to be by air. Why? Because it is less travel time. So if we're talking about getting a product from the United States to Peru, it is going to be 8 hours. If we're talking about getting from China, it's going to be a day and a half. So it is less travel if comparing it to sea transportation. So we're talking about sea transportation 30 to 40 days, and on the other hand, air transportation it will be only about 1 or 1.5 days. So it is um, a lot of differences in travel time. Then we have to be careful with the restrictions because for dangerous goods, if we're sending dangerous goods via air, air transportation has more restrictions. So we always have to look at the MSDS. So if our product it is allowed to send by air, but it is dangerous, maybe it will need some special requirements for travel, let's say from China to Peru. And these special requirements means more money. On the other hand, if we send it by sea, it will not have any kind of requirements, so it will be less expensive. So we have to keep in mind this to plan ahead. And finally, it is less time, so it is more expensive. So we have to check on that too. If we are not sure if it is going to be best for us by sea or by air, we could just ask to our um, custom to our logistic operator how much it will be by sea and how much it will be by air, so we can make a comparison and we can decide which one is better according to prices, according to time. And finally, we have road means. In this case, road transportation, it also has a transport document that is the Convention relative to contract de transport international merchandise par la route. So it is CMR, it is the short for that document that it is in French, and also we are going to transport the products according to the characteristics of our product. So we have to keep in mind which how is our product? Is it fragile? Is it not fragile? So we have to keep in mind that. Also, it is most likely that if we use road transportation, it is because we are just sending products between bordering countries, so maybe from Ecuador to Peru, from Colombia to Peru, from Chile to Peru, but we are not going to send some products from China to Peru via road, so that's not possible. So we have to keep in mind that if we're going to use road transportation, means that we're talking about our bordering countries. Also, it is very important to know that there are no restrictions for dangerous products in road means, so that is a good one. And depending on this distance, it can be less expensive, so it's going to depend. So we have to ask for quotes to know if it's going to be better by air or by road if we are talking about bordering countries. And finally, depending on the distance, it may be shorter travel time. So maybe if we're talking about from Chile to Peru or from Ecuador to Peru, it doesn't mean that it's going to be less time than if we send it by air, because by air is going to be a couple of hours, but it means that the travel time will be shorter than if we're talking about buying something in China. So it will be just a couple of days, not a couple of weeks. So that will be the most important about the modes of transportation. Now we know there are three. So what are the details to have in mind? We have to be careful with the type of products. Are we sending what kind of products? Are they perishable? So if my product is perishable, I know that uh, I cannot use sea transportation. Maybe I can use road transportation if it is a bordering country, or maybe air transportation if it is from another country. Also, if it's general cargo and I don't need it in a short period of time, I could use sea transportation without any kind of problems. If it is live animals, I have to know that we will have to use air transportation. If we're talking fragile cargo, it is better if we send it by air, because when you send it by sea, on the sea, the handling is more harsh, so it's more likely that you send fragile products are going to get maybe get broken on the way to Peru. And finally, like I told you, you have to keep in mind the type of products. If our products are dangerous, we have to look to our MSDS or SDS, our safety data sheet or material safety data sheet, like it used to be called. So we can know if the product, we can send the product by air, or we strictly needed to send it by sea transportation. Then we have the emergency shipments. Like I told you, emergency shipments means that the products have to be in here very fast. So according to that, we will use air shipment. For example, we could be talking about getting, I don't know, maybe we had an earthquake, so we need the products really in here to get fast. Or maybe we're talking about newspapers. So for newspapers, we need also to get them here, because we are not. It is not going to be good to have a newspaper that was from a week ago. So it needs to be from the day or the night or the day before, right? So there will be kind of emergency shipments, details to have in mind. Also, dangerous goods. Again, with the dangerous goods, you have to be careful. You have to ask for the material safety data sheet or the safety data sheet, and see if you will need to pay extra for the requirements that you have to have for this kind of transportation, especially if we're talking about uh, acids, products that might get on fire, oils also, and any kind of diesel. So those are mainly some batteries also too. So we have to always ask to our supplier for the material safety data sheet or the safety data sheet. If our supplier does not have it, we have to ask him to ask to the company that produces maybe any kind of oil or diesel or any kind of product that might be dangerous that is inside or comes with the product that we're buying. That is important. Then we have the rates. This is very important. We must know how much it's going to cost us. So next we're going to use a little tool to find some rates that it will be to give us a glance of how much it will be. But we have to always ask to our logistic operator for prices. So if we are trying to import, let's say we're trying to import 50 pairs of shoes, of sneakers, we can ask our logistic operator, hey, look, I want to import 50 pairs of this kind of shoes. I'm importing them from China, so I want you to give me the prices for the logistic means and maybe customs uh, services also from China to Peru via air and from China to Peru via sea. So that's okay. Your logistic operator won't get angry at you. He will give you more alternatives so you can choose and buy to them their services. Then we have to be careful with packing and packaging. So how are we going to send our products or how our products are going to be sent? Are they going to be sent just inside a box or they are going to have inside they will be divided. If we're talking about bottles, it is fragile. So maybe we'll have bubble pack that are those little bubbles, plastic that has air inside, like air bubbles to keep them from breaking because it is glass. So we have to keep in mind that too. We have to keep in mind that too. Then specifications for cargo handling. Again, if our products are fragile, they have to be very careful. Or maybe if our products need some kind of special temperature, that is a really important information that we must give and our cargo handling company must know. Then the international means of transport available. Not everybody, not every supplier is going to be able to give us, in this case, all kinds of transport. If we're talking from China, maybe he will be able to give us the international means of transport available like sea or air, but not by road, or maybe in the country, in the place they have sea and air available, but he doesn't work with sea transportation, he only works with air transportation. So we must ask always which kinds of means of transport they have available. It is really important. And also, international means of transport, we are talking about our supplier and availability of means of transport. Like I told you, if we're talking buying from China, it doesn't mean that we will able to send it by road. So it is not going to be available. So we must note that we have to be conscious about where we are buying from, maybe which kind of transportation we will have available to then ask to our supplier which one he has available. And now we're going to see a web page. I'm going to share to you my computer, so you can see in here how to look for some prices. So I'm going to share to you my webpage. I think you can see it now. Yes. So we can put the link that I leave you at the material, that it is www.crates.com. If you want in Spanish, you put dash es dash. And if you just want to look it up at Google, you can put zero rates and nothing else. So you can click in here, but we're going to put in here zerorates.com. So we're going to check it in English. So it's going to be zero rates. Okay, perfect. Now that we have this, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down a little bit In here we can find the best freight quote, but remember that this is just for to have a glance of how much it would be. It is just to have a glance because it doesn't mean that it is going to be the exact price when we ask to our supplier. It might change, it could be a little higher, it could be a little less, it could be a lot higher or a lot less, depending on how the market uh, moves around. So this is for us to get a glance, but if we are talking about getting serious with the import, we might ask to our logistic operator for a quote. So in this case, we're going to have origin of shipment and destination of the shipment. So origin of the shipment means that where the place that we are going to buy from. So in this case, we're going to buy from, let's say, um, let's say we're going to buy from Frankfurt, Germany. So we can put the city, we can put the location, we can put the port. So in this case, we're going to put a city. Frankfurt, Main. And in here, we're going to put this. We can put the city and we can put Callao. So we have in here Callao. Okay, let me check. Now, in here we're going to put when are we ready to load. So today is May the 9th. So let's say it's going to be May the 15th. So next week, and we are going to select a type of delivery. Now, before selecting a type of delivery, we're going to choose the main the way of transport. It could be sea, it could be road, it could be air. Rail, it means train. It goes also by road at the same time, not just it could be, in this case for road, we're using if we're sending it by car or by train. But in this case, it just divided road and rail. So for sending something from the from Germany, we can use sea and road. So first, we're going to click on sea, okay? And the type of delivery could be a container. If we're talking about a full container load at FCL, or we could be talking about boxes that it could be LCL, less than container load, or we can talk about bulk if we're sending like products that are going to be not in a box. So this is especially for products that comes um, how can you say behind on the bottom of the shipment. They used to send sugar like that, so it would be sugar. It is uh, sometimes sent by bulk, but in this case, we're going to use a container and we're going to put a 20 standard container. So we'll check in here. Okay, we can also choose the type of product. So maybe we can check like apparel, and we can check dresses. So in this case will be dresses that are going to be sent in 20 standard container, a complete container for us. So after we check these products, we're going to click on search. And we're going to wait. So sometimes it could be a little, it could take a little time for them to get the information right. So we're going to wait. Okay, now it's loaded. Yes, now it's loaded. So we're going to be able to find the information in here. So let's check. So in this case, it means that it's going to go by road from, oh, let me see in here. So in here we have it. It's going to be by road from Frankfurt to the port of Bremen, and then it's going to come, let's wait, from road to Bremen, and from Bremen it's going to come by sea to the Canal of Panama, and then once it gets to Callao Port, it's going to go by road to Callao district. So that would be the visually how the transfer will go. But there's a little detail in here that you can see. It doesn't show me any kind of prices. Why? Because for this exact kind of movement or product, they don't have the price. So why will they ask me? They will ask me to put the commodity name. They will ask me to put the type, select the weight, how much in metric tons, to put my name, email, and any kind of other notes, and click send to ask for a quote. So in this case, the product didn't let me find a price. So that's okay. Doesn't mean that it is not okay. It's okay. It's just that I'm going to know that I cannot have like an estimation, that I must ask for a quote. Let's see another example. Now let's use it by air. Let's use Miami, Florida as a place of origin. The same, Callao district for Peru. Let's check May the 16th, and by air, and we're going to click on search. Oh, let me check. Wait. Let's go back because we didn't put the. Oh, wait. Let's go back to put the amount of crowds. Okay, so we said Miami. Let's use Lima. Let's use tomorrow's date and the type of delivery again. Now we are talking, oh wait, rate. So by air, we are talking about quantity of loads, in this case loads. It would be boxes. We could be talking about kilograms or cms. So in this case, we're going to say there are going to be 2 boxes of, let's say, could be 30, oh, 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters, for example. And the boxers are going to weigh, let's say, 20 kilograms. So are going to be small ones. Okay, so now that we have the information of the delivery, we're going to click on search. So if we're lucky enough, we're going to get prices. Let's hope that we get prices. Okay, so now again we have the same. So we are talking about a small road transport from Miami to the port of Miami, and then it's going to come by air to Lima, and then a small road travel by vehicle, by car, right? So now we have in here some kind of prices. So according to this kind of service, we have this one that is going to be around $323, that it says that it's going to be road, a transit time of 7 hours, and then road. Then we have the other kind of service that is going to be $334, $346, 358, 369. So these are some various services that we might have. We can book them, we can send them a message, we can have in here more information. So it says that it's going to be by truck from Miami to the Miami port. Um, the transit time, TT transit time, will be 1 day. It will be 5.32 kilometers, and they are not giving us that rate, so we don't know how much it would be. We will have to quote this transport. Then we will have by airport from Miami to Jorge Chavez, the air freight that is going to be, the transit time will be 6 hours. Uh, well, in here we have by miles, not kilometers, and the price will be $323. Then we have the airport and hotels. They will be charging us some $100. That doesn't specify for what. And finally, we have the final truck services. That is going to be from Jorge Chavez to Lima. The transit time will be, they are extended. It will be a couple of hours, maybe, or maybe just some 1 hour or less than 1 hour, depending on where we are. But they extend it to 1 day, and they are putting like 16.46 kilometers from Callao to Centro Lima in this case, and they don't put no rate, so we will have to quote that too. So from this example, we will know that the transit time is going to be 6 hours from Miami, from the time that they pick up the product in Miami until the time that we get the product in here in Lima. It will be around 7 days. We are not counting the time that we will need to uh, to get the custom procedures done. So we have an amount of $323 for the air freight. So we're talking about the service of transport. We are not talking about handling, any kind of handling matters. So there will be, maybe it could be another another price, an extra charge. And also in here we don't have the rate for the inland. So the inland means the transportation inside the country, so we don't have the rate for that too. But we know that a glance of the price of just the air freight could be this price, so it will be for us to get a glance. Now, knowing this, I could say, okay, that's okay. I think that is a good price for the freight, so I think that I'm going to go buy that. Or maybe it is too much for me, so maybe I won't go buy that. But maybe I can check it in here too and compare it. So we have 323, remember? And I could check it by C also. So let's check if it gives me something. So now I have $6 if I use it by C, but let's see, in here they gave us a $50 track time. They are not giving us rate for uh, handling on origin. They say that the shipping, the ocean freight is $6 per the time, in this case per the size. But remember that it is not going, you are going to pay for $6. It means that you have to pay for some extra charges that they are not putting in here, so don't get excited. They are giving us $5 for this charge, but it's not going to be $5, it's going to be more because our logistic operator will have like standard prices, so we must not trust in this. And finally, they are giving us an estimated price of $50 for track in here inside Peru. But let's remember that this is a glance, so it doesn't mean that all logistic operators are going to charge you that amount of money. So we have to be careful, okay? It is just to get a glance at them. If we want real prices, we will have to ask to our logistic operator. From this, we know that maybe air uh, travel will be expensive, but it will be just 7 days. In this case, on the other hand, they are telling us that it's going to be more than 15 days. So I'm sorry, uh, more than 15 days, yes. So it will be more time, but in this case, I'm sorry. Uh, when we are talking about air travel, it is 6 hours and 1 day, so it will be just 1 or 2 days to get the product. It will be less than 1 day to get the product in here. But if we talk about custom procedures, it will be more. So we have to be careful about that. Okay. So now we have an idea of how to check some prices. So that is very good. But remember always to ask our supplier for the real price, our logistic operator in this case. So finally, I'm going to leave you references in here. You can check them later if you need any more information. And last but not least, I want to thank you for your attention. Today was session 10, choosing for the best mode of transport. And your teacher Lina Busco. I hope that you learned a little bit more today. And I hope to see you next week. Okay? Take care. Bye bye.